Hi, I'm Andrew Griffin, I'm Technology Editor at The Independent. It's looking increasingly likely that TikTok might be banned or at least cracked down upon, so we wanted to see what you wanted to know about that. Let's see what you asked. First question, does TikTok access my battery to steal my electricity? I've seen a lot of stuff said about TikTok over the last couple of weeks, including at the Congress hearings.
I'm sorry, I may not understand the...
So if I have a TikTok app on my phone and my phone is on my home Wi-Fi network, does TikTok access that network?
We do need to know exactly what we're talking about, and this is a really technical issue about privacy, about data, about apps and everything else. And I think it's really important that the people asking questions about this do so in a kind of enlightened way. What we saw at the Congress hearings was some good questions, some that were very clearly coming from a place of, if not ignorance at least, a lack of kind of understanding. So TikTok does use your battery, it does use your Wi-Fi, just like every other app. The question partly is about how it uses those things, not whether it does at all. The next question is, why are we trying to ban TikTok instead of just passing legislation to ban the mining and selling of our data across the board? Some people say that's exactly what we should be doing, that TikTok's only really a symptom of a broader issue of apps that, take your data, steal it if you want to use that word, use it for advertising, use it for other things as well. People like AOC have argued that we should be passing rules about how this works generally rather than just looking at TikTok. I think those two things kind of come in parallel but aren't necessarily the same. There are some issues with TikTok that make it different from every other app. The primary one is that the owners of TikTok are Chinese and the owners of every other app basically are from the US. And that changes some of the calculation about how the data is used. There's been allegations that the fact that this data is going to China means that it can be seen by Chinese politicians and Chinese authorities, and you can make your own mind up of whether you see that as a worrying thing or not. And so TikTok is a special case, but it's definitely the case that it does highlight some other much broader issues that we certainly should be talking about as well. And the next question is about whether, after the UK has blocked TikTok on government phones, could there be a nationwide ban incoming? Maybe is the answer. It's exactly what happened in the US. We saw bans come first in the form of blocks on the use of the app on federal phones, government phones, official phones, and it's now spread into a much broader conversation about whether the app should be banned in general. Clearly, every time you take a decision like this, it sets you down a path. It becomes easier to block the app in general. But I think at the same time, we've seen a lot, at least in the UK, a lot of rebellion from even within the government. Grant Shapps, who himself is a minister, has said that he'll continue using the app. There's been suggestions from cybersecurity officials that it's kind of a question of risks. It's obviously riskier for ministers and other government officials to use this app on their official phones than it is just you or I. So we're probably closer to a nationwide ban, but I think we're still a long, long way from it. The next question is TikTok. Why is it so popular? I think this is a really important question to be asking about TikTok in general, because if people didn't want to use this so much, it would be a much easier issue to deal with. And it's the popularity of TikTok that makes it such a difficult, fraught political question as much as anything else. That popularity is based on a load of things, but I think primarily it's because the app is really engaging and fun to use. Most of that is a result of the fact that they have this very finely curated For You page. Some people say too finely curated, and it's kind of dangerous in various ways, like it might take you into pull you into currents of videos that might be dangerous for you to watch over and over again. But that's kind of a bad consequence of something that for them is really, really good. It's very good at working out who you are, working out what kinds of videos you like to watch and engage with, and then giving you more and more of them. It's really important to think about why people want to use TikTok, why they don't want to use competitors like Instagram Reels, and therefore why it's so difficult to get this ban through for the people who want to get it through. And finally, is TikTok spying on us more or less than Facebook, Google, or any other social media app? There's kind of two ways of answering this. One is probably not. The amount of data that's hoovered up by these apps is vast. The amount of data that they allow themselves to hoover up is even bigger. They basically can, if they want, track anything. There are limits on that. So on your iPhone, none of these apps can have access to your microphone, for instance, without you giving them permission, things like that. But it really is big. They can, if they want and ask for it, track your location, track where else you've been on the internet, all sorts of things. And that applies to TikTok as much as it applies to Facebook, Instagram, probably every other app that you use. The difference is that Facebook and Google are seen as kind of okay because that tracking is being done by a US company rather than a Chinese one. Part of that, I think, is just plain old xenophobia. It's worrying for US politicians to see the rise of a big Chinese-owned app. It's been really helpful for the US for it to be so popular and productive in producing these apps. Part of it, though, is there is a kind of real concern about the fact that the use of that data is a bit more obscure. We don't necessarily know where the data that TikTok gathers is going, what it's being used for. There's been suggestions it could be used, for instance, to spy en masse on the US from a political angle that obviously isn't so much of a worry for US citizens using a US app. But I think, as so much of the conversation with TikTok, it's really important to just remember that most of the concerns people have about TikTok are also concerns that you should have about every other app. If you think it's gathering too much data on you, then also have a look at all the other apps that might be doing exactly the same and have a think about the ways that you use those and the permissions you give them as well. Thank you ever so much for your questions. You can keep up to date with everything on this TikTok stuff and everything else too on the Independent's tech coverage, and we'll see you next time on You Ask the Questions.